guys eating? You can't. We are so excited that you're here today supporting the birthday celebration of our esteemed Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And despite the pandemic, we are obligated to kind of lift up the hope and all of the great modeling that he did for us. So this is crazy. I think I know everyone in here, so thank you for coming. Thank you for hosting us here. And that we should be supporting them. This is all part of the Dr. King dream as well. And I just so happened to go to Cape and Look in the era where the Lewis family, we were all classmates. There's Ronald and Donald that are twins that were in my class, and brother David. And Elton is the younger of this. I see David up there. And Elton, Lewis, and then his younger brother Anthony. They're all owners of this beautiful establishment with Maples and his. So it's exciting. Let's just give it up for them for being so brave. And the time of pandemic, this might not be the wisest thing to do, but God has blessed them to have people like yourselves that are coming to support them. I think mostly because everybody likes to buy chicken and it's shrimp and grits, but more than that, we want to support something that we can't say a year or 2 or 3 years from now that we don't have a place to go. And it's so wonderful that diversity lives here, and music and everything that's happening. And in fact, let's give it up again. This is Mr. L. Wilson made it possible for us today. Thank you so much. So we're going to go to the program. It's very kind of laid back. We happen to be on Facebook Live, and we happen to be on Zoom. So the television back here is for you guys to see some of the panelists that are on board with us today to give us a few remarks. So the catalyst for this was that we wanted to do a series of things with cities, and Elton and I have been working together about all kinds of things. We have a fundraiser February 28th, also on Sunday, which is for Brian Allen Stevenson School of Excellence, the public charter school that's happening in a couple of years. And I'm just so glad that they want to help partner with us today in the non-perishable candy food drive that we're doing with the first base of community action. We'll hear more about it. I just want to acknowledge Ms. Michelle back there. She is on our charter board, and she's media. She's all high tech, and she's so young and so much smarter in so many areas for me. And I'm proud of her today. Thank you. Also behind the scenes today, it's also making this all happen is Calvin Jackson, who's part of the Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice. And he's going to be represented in conjunction with partnership with us. So he's the one who's making everything else happen behind the scenes. He's not here, he's out there somewhere. But we appreciate him. We also appreciate Denise Edwards in support of First State Community Action. We'll hear from her later. And my first call when putting this program together was my soror, Wayne Haskins, who was a part of the Martin Luther King. We're all coming together and we have beautiful music, we have the most esteemed orator in the nation. I'm so excited for Dr. Moore to be here today. It would be a treat for those of you who have heard him. And we just want to move the program along. We're going to start with Lift Every Voice and Sing first, and then we're going to hear from Dr. Lacuna and her wonderful new, as an author here in the area. We're going to hear about her and her book that she has here today. And I'm just so glad that Victoria is going to be the lead for Lift Every Voice and Sing. We're going to sing all the verses. The words should come up here, and if you have a program, they're also in the program as well. So please stand for the national anthem. Lift every Today, we'd like to lift up community visionaries and people that have been contributing here in Sussex County, coastal Sussex County specifically. And we have a young lady who I've met, oh my gosh, I don't know how many years we've been together, but she's always been an inspiration to me. I've had the privilege of actually teaching her beautiful family music. And she has studied guitar and piano, her children, clarinet, saxophone, drum. We've had just a great time together. But more than that, a true friendship. And we've been talking about how to build this community of partnership for some time with many projects. I'm so pleased that today Dr. Adeline Nakuna is here with us. She's a recent author, but I just want to tell you a little bit about her. She was born in Cameroon, West Africa, where she did primary, secondary, and high school studies. Dr. Adeline Akuna was married and mother of three. She studied at the University of London, obtained a BS and an MSc in medical microbiology, and then to the United States for a PhD at the Creighton University School of Medicine in Omaha, Nebraska. Researching AIDS and HIV and AIDS was a focus, and following her postdoctoral fellowship in the same institution, she attended the School of Medicine and earned an MD degree. She went on to specialize in obstetrics and gynecology. Her intensive application to obstetrics and gynecology practice does not abate her devotion to her family, which she treasures and ensures that their warmth and maternity and wifely presence is felt in both quality and spread. Between family and work, Dr. Akuna makes time for writing and traveling, while also generating the opportunity to impact the lives of others. She thus boldly stands out as an impassioned humanitarian service and health care provider. She's empathetic and assisting in so many of the life challenges and seeing of the people that she comes in contact with. She's keen and profound in adjustments and sustaining coping strategies. She resorts to the draws of the attention to the need of basic human requirements, and fallback is always the source of faith and humility as a social cohesion to oppose superficial quick fixes. Dr. Adeline Akuna formally integrates each person so she takes charge of her health and her life, a theme which is constant at the educational institutions and community events in which she is featured as a guest speaker. More than her credentials and all of the things, it is a love of people that makes her a great medical doctor. It makes her a great author by her new book, and I'm hoping that she'll come up now and join us. And please encourage her to come up. She's a little shy. But we want to talk about the beautiful literature that she's written today. Let's get to the encouragement of Dr.
Good evening, everybody. Ms. Christie, thank you very much for that very wonderful introduction and much about me. I am very happy to see everybody here today. I am deeply humbled to be among all of you here today as well. What Ms. Christie told you about me is essentially true. The only thing that is left out of it is that it was a windy road. Because like everybody else in life, I have had a fair share of challenges. And I'm talking about very big ones too. It didn't always go very smoothly for me. And it is what really motivated me to finally decide to put together a book, very a combination of my challenges in life, very windy road I had to take, what I have seen, what I do not see, what I wish was, and what I wish never was. So because of that, over the years, I started to pen down, some of the things that really helped me to be able to get to where I am today, that I think every one of us in the room and everyone can identify with. I normally describe myself as the girl next door, because that's who I am every day, right? I'm blessed and just have to overcome certain things like everybody else. But as Christy said, recently published a book called From Low to Glow. And that book basically, the best way to describe it is that it's an inspirational memoir. I think what makes it different is not really a narrative of, this happened, this happened, this happened. But the book really, seeks to give a practical roadmap, to go around all the probable challenges and windy roads that we see in our life. So as we read the book, the discussions that I bring up in the book is what every reader can identify with, the discussion. And then out of these discussions, comes, victorious strategies that we can all use, to be able to prepare forward. And literally, it really gives you from low to glow, honestly. And I can also say that, also based on some of the comments that I'm getting, some of the things that I've shared in the book, I some of the strategies that I talked about are very sustainable, in the long term. And what the beauty is that it is for everybody. It doesn't target a particular group of people. It doesn't really target a particular age, because it is about all of us, literally. And so basically, it touches every aspect of life. We talk about social, yes. We talk about psychological, yes. We talk about spiritual, yes. And then deep with all the tools in there. But I quite enjoyed writing it. It took me a long time, to write it, but I really hope that, each and every one of you can take a copy home with you. It's $15. But my hope, really, and I honestly have prayed to my Heavenly Father about this, my hope is that it can really make a difference in the life of other people. The goal is that we're here to really support each other. We're here to lift each other up. We're here to be there for one another. Because life is never a straight path. So I pray and I really do hope that this book is one that will really bring a difference and make a difference in the life of other people. If it helps one person, I hope that one person can go on to help many people. Because it is by just by helping each other that we all together can really rise up. One of my most favorite quotations that I say, I think in the book, is one that was said by the then Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Now you can know how old I am. I'm not that young anymore. But for those people who are as old as I am, she was a little old lady in Calcutta in India who really looked after the poorest of the poor. And one of my most favorite quotations that I hold dear to my heart, Mother Teresa said, now Saint Teresa of Calcutta, she said, not all of us can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. Thank you very much.
And I just know personally that she's poured, I'm sure, all of her heart into this. So I'm encouraging all of you today to get a copy. I'm trying to do a segue here with one of our guests on the Zoom, so we're waiting to make sure that we have that connection with Wade Paskins. He's going to come to us through Zoom. And until then, how about Victoria's voice? Could you hear her sing so beautifully? I'm so excited about what you're going to hear for the rest of the program. Yeah, so Victoria is one of, I met her through the 105 HBC Voices. She's one of the sopranos in the video with Lift Every Voice and Sing that was done and released over the past spring, summer actually, it's fall. I think it came out in the fall. And is now the national lead soprano for our next project with US Navy and the 105 Voices, and we're singing the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, and that's happening in the next 2 weeks in video. We have several universities that are participating that we all know about. But UMES made it in, so the University of Maryland Eastern Shores is where I'm working in music and enjoying it. It's great, great singers everywhere. But I've been a Morgan Bear and a Delaware State Hornet. Now I'm a Hawk, and I'm excited to be a Hawk. But this young lady has a fabulous voice, and she sings opera, she does theater. We'll be talking more about her in a moment. I'm hoping that I can get a segue from Mr. Calvin to Wayne Paskins, and if that happens, we're going to go ahead and continue. But I hope that you're enjoying your food and the service here, encouraging those who are online to go ahead and order some takeout and come by and drop off your perishable goods and grab some of the great food here at Sydney's. And so what's more interesting is that we can celebrate Dr. King's birthday by having food fellowship and a great program like today. And I'm so excited that you're here. I think we are going to move right into our next treat from Miss Victoria. And again, aside from her being a great leader, and she also has her own music studio, vocal studio, that I just want to let you know more about her great journey. Victoria Williams is a Washington, D.C. based classically trained soprano hailing from Richmond, Virginia. She made her theater performance debut at the tender age of 8 in Once Upon a Mattress and made her amateur solo debut with the Richmond Symphony Orchestra at 14 years old. She has been and has completed the regional, national, international competitions as an opera singer and concert soloist. After realizing her life's goal was to be a doctor of the voice, she decided to her resume in academic studies at the University of District of Columbia, where she will be completing her master's music and voice performance and a minor in speech language pathology in May 2021. Woo-hoo! She will begin her master's of science in speech language pathology in the fall of 2021. And is looking forward to applying these studies to her ever-growing and evolving teaching philosophy. When she isn't teaching, studying, or doing community service, Victoria is a happy crafter and lover of all things, do it yourself. I hope you have a YouTube channel. She is also very proud to be a cat mom to her feline companion of the last 8 years, Aiden, and Victoria is a dedicated member, International Service Sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated in the house, and a local artist collective of the Aria Club of Greater Washington, D.C. Please join me as she comes back to the stage, the beautiful medley of spirituals, Miss Victoria Williams.
Good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with you today. This is my first time being in coastal Delaware, so quite a reception from all of you. I felt so welcome since I really crossed the state line. And I just really am thankful to be here with you all today. Before I continue singing, I want to give a special shout out to the wonderful Professor Christy Taylor. She is so fantastic. She is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. So if there are any other sorors, please come say hello to me. I would love to meet you. When we were trying to figure out what we were going to do today, as far as like to honor Dr. King and honor his ongoing legacy, we were kind of, overwhelmed with how much we could do. And sometimes you have so many choices that you just kind of have a hard time narrowing it down to one. And I knew I was going to sing 2 times, and I was like, well, how can I fit, what I really want into all of this? So Professor Taylor gave me a little artistic liberty, and she allowed me to present to you all an a cappella improvised solo that I arranged about 2 years ago. It is a medley of Fix Me Jesus, My Lord Lord, and If I Can, or excuse me, and Steal Away. Oh, fix me. Oh, oh,
that's what's so exciting about strengthening that colleges and universities. And the legacy that we have by modeling in music particularly is every time to be singing, reflecting, this is our time. And I'll just take a moment, just again, Victoria, thank you so much. It was so important for the young people get it's our responsibility in our communities and our churches to lift them up, in addition to the hymns. So thank you again. It was a great meeting for us. We are going to keep the program going. We're hoping that the technology will catch up with us as well. Those of you who have bought canned or non-perishable goods in the vestibule in the area, when you walk in, if you just left them there, if you have them in your car, please bring them in and encourage that we are going to be, in our day of service, we'll be helping out folk throughout the county. I think Community Action is in line with Food Purple and some other organizations that these will be recipients of. And we're just so blessed, even in this time, that we have our health and our strength because you're here. I'm so glad that you're here. I know some of us have gone through the experience of this COVID, and here you are again. And so I know my friends that are here, I'm so glad that you've come by. You're great supporters. I was looking at this journey, and I think that was where you sat last time, and I knew that, God is able, isn't he? So I'm glad you came back, and thank you. We are really excited by all the things that we should be doing in our weekend of service. Tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow morning, on Zoom is the annual Dr. King morning service, church service. And I'm hoping that you'll get all the information before we end today. But I do want to say that we are partnering again with the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Birthday committee here, and Wayne Haskins is part of that and has been part of the conjunction that we've been doing today. We also have, again, Bernice Edwards, who is been doing such a great job with First State Community Action for so long. We're so excited about the partnership of what we should be doing for one another here in Sussex County and throughout the state. And we'll also hear hopefully from Ms. Charlotte King, who has been the visionary for the Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice. And there's so many great people here today. I wish I could call on you, all of you, and say something about you. So you're the meat of this community. Thank you for coming out again. I think at this time, we're going just to take a break for a minute. For those of you who are still eating or want to order something, the wait staff is doing a great job in trying to get your food out. It smells delicious. And so we're just going to take a 5-minute break so we can see if we can get our participants on board. Thank you.
Yes. Yep, but I can't hear anything. I mean, voices are coming across as garbled. You're not on? Can you hear things? Yeah, he really messed up. So they got to get it fixed for tomorrow because we got big time speakers tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.
Could probably complaining of that. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard, but I think it's a tough one, yeah. Okay, let's say that, yeah, let's say goodbye. Let's say 5, 15 minutes. Okay.
You're really doing this. We always have to. Yeah. They come. This video, I don't feel I'm not doing I was and I try to move it back to
We want to keep the program. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today and the celebration of Dr. King's birthday. We are I'm enjoying the smells of the fish and the shrimp, and you guys are enjoying all your meals. How many people got the grits today, raise your hand? Okay, how about the whiting? Okay, and I think on the menu tonight was the shrimp scampi. Okay, very good. And speaking of the great food, with another partner, Mr. Ed Wavels is coming up to the stage. I just wanted to say hi based on being such a wonderful partner here at Cities and the vision of this beautiful restaurant. Mr. Ed Wavels, you might know him from education, principal, all the great stuff that all my kids came to you like. Mr. Ed Wavels.
Good evening. It's such a pleasure to be here. It's such a pleasure to see that people are still interested in celebrating the birthday of Dr. Martin King, all the wonderful things he's done. So as an educator, one of the things, I taught U.S. history when I was a teacher. So this was something I was really into and excited about. And also got our students also to recognize and do those things. Now, here at Sydney, we're here for a purpose. Our purpose is to serve. And so as servant leaders here at Sydney, we want to give our people, the community, and the surrounding area, something that we, place to come to, be able to feel free, open, to come here and celebrate birthdays, all kinds of things, and do it in a way where we meet all people, all kinds of people up here, who come here. We guarantee you good service and guarantee good food. That's our main thing, and great service. That's not what we're here for. And again, Cities is based on some other things, and we have, see we're standing on the stage here, we do have live music here. And we are supporting, this is really important, we're supporting local talents. And recently, in the fall, we had several local groups who come here. We even had people from DC. We've had Mark Sherrod, famous jazz musician. He was here on that stage. As a matter of fact, we also had some local folks, like we had a 15-year-old here playing the trombone. I was standing. That was that scene. So these are the kind of things we're doing. And also, we have some things coming up. I want you to please understand that we're going to do some different things related to whether it's karaoke, whether it's things like bingo or singing bingo, whatever you call that. Anyway, name that tune stuff, all those kind of things. We're bringing those kind of things back in the area, giving people a place to relax. But most of all, we just thank you for coming, for thank you for your spirit and your willingness to come to a place called Sydney's and to enjoy our food and celebrate our icon, Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you.
History and all of the teachings that we have in our school experience, it doesn't quite compare to actually getting involved with programming like this. We're so glad that Sydney's has been a partnership with us. And the 15-year-old is my student. I love, we had fun here. We have been playing here. She's a blue, we're a little different now because of COVID, but we're coming back. We appreciate everyone when it comes out to see us. We were just here yesterday for the fundraiser. And speaking of what's important, we have people who have lost in our community. Reverend Edwards and his wife unfortunately had a failure. This is the part of the committee founder and leader, one of the people who have made these kinds of programs possible. And Mr. George, Reverend George Edwards, and they had a fire just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think it was the car that caught on fire, rise and caught the house on fire, and lost everything. So you'll be hearing more about some ways to partnership to help our local heroes, much like what has happened with the Edwards family. And I think there is a fund at local bank, but if you have more information, hopefully Denise will come on and talk about it. But in the event that if you know them and want to know more about it, please see me in the program. I'm often inspired by some of the work and the legacy of being a Stevenson. My brothers Howard and Brian have been inspirational to me. When I think about today and Dr. King and the words that he always eloquently put together for us to really be encouraged about hope, I think about my mother, and I think about my brother Brian and the things that he has said and has done. And I just want to share a couple of things that have inspired me. And I'm hopeful that those of you who know about his work with the Equal Justice Initiative and his memoir with Just Mercy and the movie and all the great things that's happened to him, global citizen of the world, all the accolades, he's still very modest. And we're excited that he's in real time for us. I'm just hearing today, and my brother Howard and Brian all the time are taking these wonderful summits and online. So if you're interested in some of the things that they have been reporting, just Google them and you'll find some of the things that they're involved in. This quote, he talks about our grandmother a lot, Brian does. But this one is more relevant to people who are Cape graduates. I see some people who we all went to school together, and it's exciting to. His recollections are a little different than mine sometimes. I don't know, the TED Talk we talked about, I think he threw Harry and I under the bus about a beer can. I don't remember that story at all. I don't know how he got me as the person drinking beer more than we were supposed to. No, that's not, I digress, sorry. So one of his quotes is, my parents lived in a rural community on the eastern shore, and the schools were still segregated. And I remember when lawyers came into our community to open up the public schools to black kids. And so Brian and I are 11 months apart, and Howie is 13 months older. So for me, my walk was different. Well, to age, but I didn't know that there was segregation. I didn't realize that my 2 brothers had gone to the DuPont colored schools. I didn't realize any of that until recently, because I just assumed when we think about Head Start, I went right into kindergarten actually. And it's interesting how that shapes you. If it weren't for our mother who said when they were putting all the colored school kids into public school that everyone was in the 4th position, the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, and all of the colored kids, all the black kids were assigned into the 4th slower track. And if it wasn't for people who said no, that's how it was. And my mother from Philadelphia, she was like Angela Davis, like in very many ways, in a very good way. But she was a mouthpiece. She was very instrumental in the shaping of our childhood, which meant that we have courage and we'll be bold and we'll be truth tellers. And so when we talk about being purposeful living, like Brian or Howard, or myself, say when I'm talking about them, I'm talking about myself. Well, Brian is super modest, I've learned that as well, that when you do good things, you are not expecting anyone to pat you on the back. But the second way to all of that is education is key, that we have to fight for things that are right. Part of the vision in the Brian Allen Stevenson School of Excellence came a few years ago with my cousin Teresa, was that what do we do when we get done teaching? And in Sussex County, as a teacher for many years here, I felt that there was a group of kids that were invisible, that I didn't see them in the Odyssey of Mind. I didn't see our kids on the swim team. And so part of the premise in the day school is that yoga, plant-based diet, chess, all those things that we thought were kind of foreign are just part of what we want to expect for our young people. It's not about color, it's about exposure. And so we're excited about the future and the curriculum that we're trying to implement here in Sussex County. And next month, we'll be having a fundraiser here at Sydney's, 4 o'clock on Sunday. We're featuring a gospel vocal group who is fantastic, so I hope that you will consider that and come on back and be a part of the process, the journey. We're looking at some property that's very exciting, and we're hoping that you'll support us in the next 2 years. You'll hear more about charter school. We're just excited about that. And we should be excited about what we do with our own families by being modelers. And I'm so excited that we have a modeler in the building today. So we're going to move forward in our program. We're going to have Miss Victoria come back up and offer us a piece of music that actually the history of this song is very, very interesting, because in Black music, I thought it was a Black song. If I Could Help Somebody, everybody knows that song. This was Mahalia Jackson made it very famous, but the composer was just a lady from Tennessee, no music education. She kind of taught herself how to play the piano, and she married, it's an interesting story, but my point is that music is music, and the words of this were kind of adopted with the dream of Dr. King, and how we should be not only modelers, but servers. And that we should be really connecting with everyone. So I'm really excited about this piece of music, and we're hoping that you'll enjoy it as well as Victoria Williams. If I can help somebody as I travel, if I can help somebody with a word or a song, if I can help somebody from doing wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. Then my living shall not be in vain. No, my living shall not be in vain. For if I can living shall not be in vain. No, my living shall not be in vain. No, my living shall not be in vain. For if I can have some more peace from here on, then my giving shall not like I said at the very well, we've had the appetizers, we've had some libations, had some food, and the dessert is here. We are so excited about the esteemed Reverend Dr. John G. Moore, Sr., who happens to be a Philadelphian. That's why from day one when I met you, I was like, yes, a Philadelphia fellow. In 2005, Dr. Moore retired from the United States Air Force after 20 years of honorable service to his nation. He currently serves as the Director of Philanthropy and Engagement for the United Way of Delaware. Dr. Moore is also President and CEO of Total Increase Ministries and the Associate Pastor of the Dover Christian Church in Dover, Delaware. He's an active member of the Central Grants 2028 of the NAACP. In 2015, he was awarded the Jefferson Foundation Award by Governor Jack Markell. In 2016, Governor Andrew Cuomo at Albany, New York, being Dr. Moore as a keynote speaker for the New York State Annual Martin Luther King Commemorative. Also in 2016, Dr. Moore received the Liberty Bell Award from the Delaware State Bar Association. In 2017, Dr. Moore was selected as the recipient of the prestigious Stanford Bratton Award by the First State Community Action Agency. In 2018, Dr. Moore was awarded the Unsung Hero Award for Kent County, Delaware, for his selfless work in education and youth development by the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League Young Professionals. In 2020, Dr. Moore was chosen as the recipient of the Eastern Region National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa Incorporated Citation Award for Community Service. In 2019 and 20, Dr. Moore was also the keynote speaker for over 70 commemorative services celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the celebration of the African American history, as well as over 25 leadership development forums. A highlight for Reverend Moore occurred August 26, 2011, when he was selected to recite I Have a Dream at a private dedication in Washington, D.C. for the opening of the great Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. The event was attended by over 7,500 guests, to include Elder Bernice King, Martin Luther King III, Christine King Ferris, Andrew Young, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Myrtle Evers Williams, and Reverend Joseph Lowry. Reverend Dr. Moore is internationally recognized minister and orator for his spoken in hundreds of schools, colleges, churches, correctional facilities, and organizational gatherings locally throughout the nation and in Hawaii, Germany, Japan, and North Korea. He's a busy man. Reverend Dr. Moore is internationally recognized in lots of areas across the world, but he's also a resident of Magnolia, Delaware, with his wife of 34 years, Candace Alfonso Moore. They have two beautiful sons, John Jr. and Colin Joshua. His motto in life is, if I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living will not be in vain. It was not bad. Let's give Rousing a warm welcome for the esteemed Reverend Dr. John Moore as he makes his way.
What an honor it is to be here with you tonight. And it was amazing when I heard Sister Christie say, you know, one of the great speakers around the country, and I reflected on the fact that this is Brian Stevenson's sister saying something like that. And he is someone that I highly admire. I grew up as a child in Philadelphia having a great admiration for Dr. King. He became my hero. While most kids was trying to be better at basketball, and I tried my thing at basketball, I was moved so powerfully by his words and his actions. This Monday, tomorrow, would be his 92nd birthday. And you know, I reflect back on an incident that happened in his life when he was 15 years old. You know, he was 15 and he was going to Morehouse College. He had skipped the senior year and sophomore years in high school and went to college at just 15. And he went into the office with his father of the president of Morehouse, Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. And Daddy King just told Dr. Mays, he said this statement that was so profound. He said, I don't want you to give my son any money. I don't want you to give him any special privileges. The one thing I want you to do, Dr. Mays, is I want you to teach my son how to dream. And Dr. Mays looked back at that 15-year-old young man and he said these words. He says, young Marty, it must be borne in mind that the tragedy of life does not lie in reaching your goals, but the tragedy of life lies in having no goals to reach for. He said it's not a disaster if you die with your dream unfulfilled, but it is a disaster not to dream. He said it's not a calamity if you do not capture your ideals, but it is a calamity if you have no ideals to capture. And it's not a disgrace if you do not reach the stars, but it's a disgrace if you have no stars to reach for. He said it's not failure in life, it's just low aim. And we know Dr. King went on to be the greatest dreamer that ever walked American soil. And one of the concepts that Dr. King developed as we look at what's happening in the country today is he came up with this utopian vision of what was called the beloved community. I can only imagine the tears that he shed last week from heaven when he watched what happened in Washington, D.C. I can only imagine how much sorrow he may have felt in his heart when he saw during the Black Lives Matter movements all the injustices that were faced by young people of color. And I know he must have asked himself the question, why did I give my life for so many things? And so tonight, just briefly, his words mean so much to me. I remember when I was a child, I used to tell my mom, I want to be the next Dr. King. She said, I just want you to make your bed. And so I say this to children. I get to go to a lot of schools. I've been over to H.O. Birmingham many a time, and Cape Middle High School, all these schools down here. And I show these kids, this is amazing for me. I can recite the entire I Have a Dream speech from memory. But I can't remember to bring groceries home when my wife says go to the store. But I say that because it is so important that we ingrain those words, that they have to continue to be delivered, and they have to be done in a way that brings Dr. King back to life. So if you don't mind tonight, I'd like to just do a few of his speeches. Is that okay? So I want you to take a journey back with me. And I think I'm going to start all the way over there at that song that she stirred me up with, if I can help somebody. February 4th, 1968, Dr. King gave a sermon called The Drum Major Instinct. It was 2 months before he was killed. And he was giving his sermon, he's a Baptist preacher. So you gotta always watch it. I'm watching myself tonight. You gotta always watch when you give a Baptist preacher a microphone. Somebody made a great mistake when I was in church today. He said, Reverend, just have your way. I said, we're gonna get out of here for 4 hours if I had my way. But Dr. King was giving this very extensive sermon on service and recognition. And then he got toward the end of that sermon, and he wanted to reflect on how he wanted to be remembered. And he said it like this: if you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. Recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's the new definition of greatness. This morning, the thing that I like about it, by giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great, because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know about Aristotle and Plato to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics and physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, soul generated by love. You can be that servant. Every now and then, I guess we all think realistically about that day when we will be victimized. What is life's final common denominator? That's something we call death. We all think about it, and every now and then I think about my own death, think about my own funeral. And I don't think of it in a morbid sense. Every now and then I ask myself, what is it that I would once say? And I leave the word to you this morning. If any of you are around when I have to meet my day, I don't want a long funeral. And if you get somebody to deliver the eulogy, tell them not to talk too long. Every now and then I wonder what I want them to say. Tell them not to mention that I have a Nobel Peace Prize. That is important. Tell them not to mention that I have 300 or 400 other awards. That's not important. Tell them not to mention where I went to school. I'd like for somebody to mention that day Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving us. Like for somebody to say on that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody. I want you to say on that day that I tried to be right I want you to be able to say on that day that I did try to feed the hungry. I want you to be able to say on that day that I did try in my life to clothe those who were naked. I want you to be able to say on that day that I did try in my life to visit those who were in prison. I want you to say on that day that I just tried to love and serve humanity. Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. And that I was a drum major for righteousness. And all of the other shallow things will not matter. I won't have any money to leave behind. I won't have any fine, luxurious things of life to leave behind. But I just want to leave a committed life behind. That's all I want to say. If I can help somebody, as I'm passing along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can show somebody who's traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain. If I can do my duty as a Christian officer, if I can bring salvation to a world once for all, if I can spread the message as the Master taught, then my living will not be in vain. Yes, Jesus, I want to be on your right and your left side. Not for any selfish reasons. I want to be on your right or your left side, but not in terms of some political kingdom or ambition. But I just want to be there. Love and in justice and in truth and in commitment to others so that we can make it this old world a new world. You know, you always gotta, when you have a singer come, you always expect a singer to sing the greatest hit. You'll leave that concert saying, why didn't she sing that song? And of course, if you think of Dr. King, you know the greatest hit. August 28, 1963, in front of 250,000 people. Stood there, here we go again with that Baptist preacher thing. Dr. King was the last speaker of 12 on the program. And that day, every speaker was given 8 minutes. But being the last speaker and having the microphone, that 8 minutes turned to 18 minutes. And I'll tell you the reason why. As he gave his extemporaneous speech that day, he wasn't really moving the crowd. They were clapping and they were enjoying it. But he was reading and there was a lot of manuscript. I'm happy to join with you today. He was reading a whole lot of it. So when he got down toward the end of it, there was this gospel singer by the name of Mahalia Jackson. She was sitting in the back. She said, you got to bring this home, doctor. And she whispered, Martin, tell him about the dream. That was the last thing he was supposed to speak about that day. There was a Dr. Wyatt T. Walker who said, don't you even think about going into that dream thing. You've done it before, don't you be doing that today. But it became the most historic thing he ever delivered. So here we go. We face the difficulties of today and tomorrow. I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream. One day, this nation will rise up, live up One day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the hiking Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the pervasive slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill in Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring when this happens. When we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. What am I seeing on this? Now, when I'm rehearsing these, I'm constantly rehearsing these speeches in my car. I'm getting older. Now I want to show up at a school and they say, kids ask you, do a certain speech. And as you're getting older, man, I'm like, I don't want to show up there like that, so I'm constantly rehearsing. The point I make when I say that is that this gets very spiritual. And it gets very emotional. Sometimes I try my best to do justice. I continue doing speeches, but there's only one Dr. King. Good job, Mike. And I think of all that he sacrificed. And on that final day, April the 3rd, 1968, Memphis, Tennessee. Very prophetic. He knew he was about to die. Could you imagine somebody calling your house 30 or 40 times a day, telling you they're going to blow your brains out and kill your children? And I believe that within the last couple of days before he gave his speech in Memphis, he must have got a phone call. And he realized whoever that person was, they meant it. And he didn't want to appear fearful. So he left these final words. Please listen, I'm going to do a piece in there that a lot of people haven't heard before because it was about when Dr. King almost died signing a book, his first book called Strive Toward Freedom. He reflects back on so many things in his speech, but then he comes up at the end saying, doesn't matter. I'm singing out. So he shared it like this. Let us rise up tonight with a great readiness. Let us stand with a greater determination. Let us move on in these powerful days, these days of challenge, to make America what it ought to be. We have an opportunity to make America a better nation. Now I want to thank God once more for allowing me to be here with you. You know, several years ago, I was in New York City, autographing the first book that I had written. While sitting there autographing books, a black woman came up. The only question I heard from her was, "Are you Martin Luther King?" And I was looking down writing, and I said, "Yes." Next minute, I felt something beating on my chest. For I knew what I had been stabbed by this demented woman. I was rushed to Harlem Hospital. It was a dark Saturday afternoon. That blade had gone through, and the x-rays revealed that the tip of the blade was on the edge of my aorta, the main artery. Once that's punctured, you drown in your own blood. That's the end of it. Came out in the New York Times the next morning that if I had merely sneezed, I would have died. Well, about 4 days later, they allowed me, after the operation, after my chest had been opened up and the blade had been taken out, to move around in a wheelchair at the hospital. They allowed me to read some of the mail that came in from all over the states and the world. Kind letters came in. I read a few, but one of them I'll never forget. I had received a letter from the president and the vice president, but I've forgotten what those telegrams said. I had received a visit and a letter from the governor of New York, but I've forgotten what that letter said. There was another letter that came from a little girl, a young girl, who was a student at the White Plains High School. I looked at that letter and I'll never forget it. Said simply, "Dear Dr. King, I am a 9th grade student at the White Plains High School." She said, "While it should not matter, I would like to mention that I'm a white girl. I read in the paper of your misfortune and of your suffering. And I read that if you would have sneezed, you would have died. Well, I'm simply writing you to say that I'm so happy that you didn't sneeze. And I want to say tonight that I too am happy that I didn't sneeze, because if I had sneezed, I would have been around in 1960. And students all over the South started sitting in at lunch counters. And I knew that as they were sitting in, they were really standing up for the best of the American dream and taking the whole nation back to those great wells of democracy, which were dug deep by the founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. If I had sneezed, I would have been around in 1961 when we decided to take a ride for freedom and ended segregation and interstate travel. If I had sneezed, I would have been around in 1962. Negroes in Albany, Georgia decided to straighten their backs up. And whenever they straighten their backs up, they're going somewhere because a man
I'm listening to
can't ride
more.
your back unless it is bent. If I had sneezed,
Hold on, let me turn him
it would have been
down.
around 1963. Black people,
Hello?
Birmingham, Alabama, roused the conscience of this nation and brought into being the Civil Rights Bill. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have had a chance later that year in August to try to tell America about a dream that I had. If I had sneezed, I would have been down in Selma, Alabama to see the great movement there. If I had sneezed, see a community rallying around those brothers and sisters who are suffering. I'm so happy that I didn't sneeze. They were telling me, no, it doesn't matter now. It really doesn't matter what happens now. I left Atlanta this morning, and as we got started on the plane, there were 6 of us. The pilot said over the public address system, we're sorry for the delay. We had Dr. Martin Luther King on the plane, and to be sure that all of the bags were checked, and to be sure that nothing would go wrong on the plane, we've had to check out everything carefully. We've had the plane protected and guarded all night. Then I got into Memphis. And some began to say the threats, or talk about the threats that were out. What would happen to me from some of our sick white brothers? Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind, like anybody ever would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. I looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Was the mountaintop. 6 o'clock the next day, while standing on the balcony of the Rainbow Hotel. This is where it gets emotional to me. Very prophetic, you know. They were planning on going to dinner over Billy Cobb's house. Doctor was looking down and he was speaking to the people in the parking lot. And there was a singer named Ben Branch that was brought up to the front by Jesse Jackson. He said, hey, Doc, it's my main man, Ben Branch, from the Breadbasket Quartet. Leading saxophone player to sing. Dr. King said, oh yes, it's my main man. Then he said these prophetic words. Hey Ben, when you get to the church tonight, play my favorite song, Precious Lord, Take My Hand. Play it real pretty. Then in an instant, when his driver told him to go back and get a coat, he was gone. Now leave you with this. It's not a day off, it's a day home off. Going out and serve and do something to help humanity. Going out and make a difference to make someone's dark today a brighter tomorrow. My friends, if we keep doing things like this, not only will we make America great, but we will make this world a better place. The dream of Dr. King will continue to live on. Thank you. God bless you.
want to have for participating on behalf of Sydney's and unfortunately, we didn't get all of the participants in, but we certainly appreciate Bruce Edwards for state community action for those of you who dropped off for donating items. We appreciate it. We appreciate the conjunction and the collaboration with Dr. Martin Luther King and the Junior Birthday Committee, the celebration of the worship service tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. We appreciate Charlotte King for helping participate in this from Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice. We thank Ms. Rochelle for participating and helping us from the charter school. We appreciate her family for coming out here. Thank you all for coming tonight. So I actually stand, I'm so going to stand because we're going to all sing the happy birthday song from Super One. We have the lyrics, come on, everybody, let's have some fun as we end the program tonight. And Christy Taylor, thank you so much for coming out. Bless you for all the safe travels, all of you that have come out tonight. And we just want to have some fun singing. I think it's fun. Here we go. Come on, let's move your bodies if you want to. Tori, help us. Because I cannot see music, but that's okay. It's free, yes, he that they should be on revolution. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Christy. Now I'm looking at you. You look so familiar. Right up on the street.